Welcome to Blood and Hope Detroit, everyone. Starting off strong, I guess, with episode 10. You know, we have an ending screen that I never use because I always forget about it. For all of them. We have an ending screen for all of them, and I always forget about using them.
Nice to know.
Yeah, it's just reversed. Instead of the nightscape, it's a dayscape. Imagine that. Anyway, so you'll probably, if you're watching, you'll notice a little bit of a difference. I have no overlay for 3 people because we are down Kosia and Nen. Nen is taking care of an issue, and Kosia is dealing with a problem. Slightly different, I guess. One's an emergency, the other's not. They're fine. They'll be back next game. But it is just the 3 of us now. I am Feyla. I'm your storyteller. Joining me is Buttons playing Uriel.
Howdy.
And Dengle playing Rufus.
How's it going?
We're in for good times tonight. Recap of last game.
Well, we went and looked for one of Charlotte's ghouls. We found said ghoul. And we found some other people as well.
And in the process, let's see. Lottie.
You guys met a new kindred named Uriel.
Yeah, hey, hi.
Yeah, I was going to gloss over that one.
Yeah, no, they're far less interesting than the fact that Lottie got a goal and, let's see, did William get the other one? Yeah, William got the other one.
It was actually Rufus and William.
Oh, was it Rufus?
Yep.
Oh, shit, I thought you gave that one.
Do you think Rufus would pass up a ghoul?
I felt like I remembered him offering it to Lottie, so I...
He offered one of them to either Lottie or William, and William took it.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So ghouls were had. They were the ones who were capturing kindred. You met with T. You met up with T through Crisp because there's a thin blood they were looking for too, who was also there. And then one last kindred who was staked.
Yes, and they go to Valentina's.
That they do.
Which we are on our way to do right now, I remember.
Yes, we left off in Rufus's van as you guys were driving there, I believe.
Yes.
So, can you guys remind me what hunger you guys are sitting at?
I am currently at 2 hunger.
And Uriel is at 1 because they fed from Charlotte's accommodations before we left.
I'm sorry, did you say 1 or 2? I was fighting with Zeva.
1. They fed at Charlotte's before we left.
I'm sorry, I'm looking for my dice. Okay. So is there anything you guys would like to talk about in the vehicle? Or talk to Caitlin about?
Rufus would inquire to Caitlin about how long she's been in the city. Because I assume they've never met, which isn't surprising. But still.
Oh, I've been in the city for a few years now.
It's a pity I don't make it down to Valentina's too often. She's never really asking for me, and I don't have a whole lot of reason to go, so.
I'm not surprised.
I would assume it has to do with Ventru blood, but that is speculation, of course.
More so the gender.
Oh. That's right, she does do women's shelters, doesn't she?
She does.
And you, Uriel, how long have you been around?
Oh dear, how long have I been around? Quite a while at least. Let me... Let's see, I was turned shortly after I moved here back in the 70s, but was it the early 70s or the late 70s? It was before the Queen tour, so it was 72.
It's odd that that's how you remember things. By music.
I have an odd way of doing many things, you'll find. Effective, but many find them odd.
I'm not one to judge by ways of going about things, obviously. I have my own unique ways.
Yet they're effective.
That they seem to be. And with that, he'll just continue driving and make small talk, but not anything overly important.
Okay. Anything for you, Uriel? Is it... Yeah, Uriel or Uriel?
Uriel.
Uriel.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my brain. Is there
all
anything you would like to do? Or talk about?
Not in particular, just continue with the chit take up the space.
Okay. So it takes a little bit for you guys to drive there from where you were. It is almost on the other end of the city. Not quite, but not too far off. And the area picks up as you get into Valentina's area a little bit with the casino and other places that are open there because of it. So you do get there and you pull into the parking garage, I assume? Or are you parking somewhere else?
No, he'll pull into the parking garage. It'll
Okay.
just look like another car in the sea of probably not great cars.
You'd be surprised. There's quite the range. You see some vintage cars there.
Oh, neat.
So, Caitlin asks if you want to meet with Valentina.
It might do well to have that meeting and kind of explain your situation. And explain that the people that held you are being taken care of.
Understandable. Follow me. And she leads you in, and it's busy here. There is mortals abound. But she leads you through the floors and into the back area where the workers are. And then there is an elevator that she leads you to that will bring you up to Valentina's office. And as you get there, or before you enter the actual office, there is a couple of workers. You're not sure if they're ghouls or not. But there's a couple of them that greet you guys and meet you there. And then one of them runs off to find Valentina. But you are let into the office. And it is spacious. It opens onto a very nice view of the city. There is bookshelves. You see cases with what looks like ornamental weapons in them. And a very nice, slightly modern desk and some chairs in front of it. Caitlin goes and sits at the desk and just almost looks nervous. Wringing your hands a little bit, but you're not sure the reason behind it.
Rev won't poke personally. He will, however, not actually get up and inspect, but kind of look over the case of weapons, see if they're newer or if they're a bit older.
So, they look older. Give me intelligence and either investigation or academics.
Can Uriel also try to make this roll? They'd probably be fascinated by the weapons as well.
Yeah, if Uriel is inspecting the weapons.
I got exactly 0 successes.
Okay. They look quite well maintained, but they do look old.
This was a good pool for me. I rolled intelligence and academics and got 6 successes.
Okay. Do you have a specialty that would do anything with history?
Art history, so they might be interested in
I
Maker's
wouldn't
Marks
say.
or.
No, I would say that does not
that's
apply
really
here.
about it. Yeah.
Okay, but you still had 6. So
Yes.
there's a few spears, a shield. There is a Grecian helmet there as well. One of the shields and one of the spears actually do look like recreations, so they are new. But the other ones, the other items in that specific case that you're looking in are actually quite old.
Oh, wow. Uriel's just transfixed. They're particularly taken with the helmet.
Okay.
Are there any interesting patterns or identifying marks on any of the weaponry or the shields or anything that would stand out to them?
6. How much into Greek mythology would Uriel have been into? Specifically Greek mythology.
They would have a good, at least passing knowledge of it, because it was so influential on Greek art.
Okay, give me just one moment. Oops.
As Uriel's kind of staring at the helmet, Rev will just kind of lean over and don't go all Toreador on me, please.
No promises. Don't worry, I've been around long enough not to know better than to mess with Valentina. I will not bother her things. But I am impressed with her collection.
I know it wasn't the issue of messing with the things. It was more being entranced in and unable to move because they are
Is
nice
that
pieces
something
of-
you've had issues with? Is that something you've had issues with in the past?
William has held us up for because of it. Simple fix, just take the picture off the wall and lead him around like a lost dog, but it is what it is.
You're lucky it wasn't statuary.
Yes, at that point I probably would have just taken the head off of the statue and seen what he did then.
So on the helmet, there are, if you look very close, because they are very worn down, the helmet is old. Well maintained, but old. You can faintly see depictions of a couple of deer bounding, and then a rabbit. They look like they're mid-leap. Coming from the back of the helmet into the front.
Interesting.
Yep. It might be, it might be. Are you guys inspecting anything else? That was just one weapons case. The others are similar. One holds a bow, quiver, some arrows. And if you go to look at them, they all appear to be very similar. In some are very old, some are... They look like recreations, but not... They're very, very well done ones. Like, they look like they are going to hold up. They look like they could potentially be battle ready, and like actually hold up to combat, but it's hard to tell without actually physically touching them.
Rev would probably get closer to any ones that aren't behind the desk.
So none of them are behind the desk. There's like bookcases and then weapon or armor cases and then more bookcases.
Okay. Rev would also just peruse the bookcases to see if there's any interesting literature.
There is a wide variety of literature here in a couple different languages. Does Rufus know any other languages?
Not well enough to say that he does.
Okay.
He knows phrases in French and a little bit Spanish, and that's pretty much it.
You would definitely be able to at least recognize that some of them are in Latin. Just given when you came from, you would probably be well versed in some Latin songs and phrases.
Yeah, that's fair, and the religious background as well.
Yeah, that's more so what I meant. More church ones, but you could at least recognize what it looks like. So some of them are in Latin. Others are in English. And there's a couple other languages that you're unsure of. You don't spot any French ones. But it's a wide variety of topics, although many of them look to be dealing with mythology. Some are law, some are just normal history, some are city-specific. There are books that mention, like, about Greece.
Okay.
Does Uriel speak any other languages?
They speak Latin.
Okay.
Well, they understand Latin. Nobody really speaks Latin.
Right. So you would recognize the same. Some of them appear to be quite old. Not old enough to worry about being in a bookshelf, but on the older side. There is one or two in special cases that look to be old, but they're not opened, and they look to be like almost journal in essence, so they don't really have a title. But they're all behind panes of glass and everything, so you can't touch those ones, similarly to the weapons. The regular bookshelves are open. And Caitlin every now and then turns around to like watch you guys and make sure you're not going to do anything. But for the most part, she does leave you alone. And then after some time, the doors open again, and Valentina walks in. Gives you two a nod, but beelines to Caitlin, and kind of like stands her up, turns her around, and makes sure she's okay. And then just leans in and kisses her on each cheek, and then turns to you guys. What brings you here?
Returning one of your employees, I assume.
That's the brief description I was given. So, and she turns to Caitlin. We'll go over this later, but she turns back to you. What happened? She's been missing for days.
Right. The short version is some of the old Nosferatu ghouls that have recently been cut off from their supply. We're looking for something to sustain them. They were going around trying to get any kindred that they could. It just so happened that Charlotte had a employee as well that had come up missing, and a thin blood. We were asked by those two parties to investigate, and we stumbled upon your friend. The ghouls are being taken care of as we speak.
Taken care of how?
First and foremost, figuring out exactly how useful they are. Whether or not they should still be allowed to exist. If they deem to be not useful, I have no problem turning them over to you personally. I feel like that's appropriate.
Absolutely. They took one of my own.
Yes, they did. I know Charlotte has one of them. There were a total of 3.
And what's going on with the other 2? Who has them?
Currently, they are at the residence that we found them. I have told them to wait there until I contact them further, basically.
Are they guarded? Is there someone there watching them? How are you making sure they stay?
They've been bonded.
I see. I will be in contact with Charlotte, but if you're taking it upon yourself to dole out the other punishments, I would like to know what happens with them.
Right. Well, like I said, one seems to be actually useful for one of my coterie members that is currently, I don't know where they went. The other, I don't know how useful they will be. If they are actually useful, I will absolutely be willing to hand them over if you want them. Otherwise, I'll let you decide what you want to do with them.
We'll talk about that tomorrow. So you rescued one of my own. What would you like in return?
Well, actually, I'm getting what I want. Just immediate. I have personal projects that I'm looking into as it sits.
And she'll hold up her hand. Just a moment. Let's start this off right. I'm Valentina. Who are you?
I am Reverend Rufus Horton.
Reverend.
Yes, don't read too far into that. I am still what we are.
Interesting choice you have there.
It allows for enough anonymity and oversight that, well, yes, I am a man of faith. This helps keep the masquerade.
And you?
Dr. Uriel Kautzer, a pleasure to meet you, and may I say you have a beautiful collection.
Thank you. Brought from my home.
Most impressive.
Apologies. So you were talking of a project you're working on?
Yes. Perhaps something that you could benefit from as well. I am looking into acquiring a rather large building. I won't need all of it. To be fully honest, I'll only need about half of it. I also understand that you have shelters for displaced women and abused women throughout the city, correct?
I do.
I would be absolutely willing to give you at least half of the building if you would want it, seeing as I don't have the funds to actually acquire the building. And I would work to pay off whatever it is that I would owe you.
So you're asking for a very large loan, is what I'm hearing.
To be frank, yes.
I see. I believe you came in, or at least typically show up with 2, 3 others?
Yes, a Gangrel, a Toreador, and a Ventru, which I believe you probably have already talked to.
Yes,
About
Miss Lottie.
Yes. The Gangrel is no longer in the city. They have moved on to other business ventures. The Toreador, on the other hand, is around somewhere. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you.
William and Lottie would have received messages that pulled them away to make them unable to come here. Lottie got one from Willow, and William got one from Charlotte. I meant to say that earlier, and it slipped my mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Do you have plans written up? Do you have an idea of how much would be needed? What work would need to be done? What building are you looking at?
I can get that in the next 48 hours. It has only recently come into my attention that this is even available for sale at this point. The structure itself is an old school. The actual physical street address I don't have on me as of right now. However, it's one of the ones shut down about 10 years ago.
I vaguely think I know which one you're talking of. That needs a lot of work done to it. There will have to be some very good plans drawn up as to what you want to do with it, and if you have anyone that has inspected it to know what needs to be done.
I have personally inspected it, however, obviously I'm not a building inspector. However, this is where the potential use of said ghouls comes in. They can be the middleman to get an actual inspection done.
Once you take care of that, send it with Lottie, and we'll talk.
I can absolutely do that, and I can have a general layout and ideas for plans for you as well.
Yes, I would need to see that if I'm willing to invest what sounds like a substantial sum of money.
Right. For now, I am trying to not spend any excess, which we don't have a whole lot of excess to begin with. But for me, with my operating costs, it's exceedingly lower than, say, yours. And he kind of waves his hands up. I'm sure this is not a cheap venture.
No, but it does tend to pay for itself with excess.
Exactly. And you're one of the few people in the city that would have reason to potentially invest in this venture as it goes. Especially if you actually get something out of it, which I'm, like I said, I'm absolutely willing to make happen. Regardless of the actual investment. I feel like that is a very worthy cause.
Mm-hmm. And what do you plan to do with it?
Well, take part of it and do a community outreach for whether it be children or young adults to try to combat any social issues that there might be in the area. As you know, certain parts of Detroit aren't the best in the world when it comes to crime and or education or jobs at this point. Looking to help with that, as well as actually get a set place of worship for my flock and a homeless shelter.
Yes, I did hear you tend to travel around a lot.
Yes. Mostly by choice, since I do cater to homeless and vagrant.
It has potential to be what you call a worthy cause. But again, I need more than just words from the mouth. I'm willing to listen. Send your proposals with Lottie. We have other business that we are dealing with already.
Absolutely. I can definitely make that happen. Along with that, I was going to give Lottie quite a large part of the building that was left to take care of whatever financial matters that she was going to take as well.
She's an investment broker, I believe. I've had some people looking into her things. They appear impressive.
Yeah, she seems knowledgeable on stocks and electronic trading. Now, I admittedly stopped really looking into that right around the time that the stock market crashed. So.
Mm-hmm. Is that the only request you have of me? Is there something smaller you're asking for tonight?
I don't want to be too much of a burden. The small request was simply to have the meeting to see if you'd be willing to listen to the proposal. Seeing as you are, I got my answer.
Well, the return of one of mine, I think, necessitates more than just a small meeting. I promise nothing with the other proposal you have come with, but more than a meeting. Stay tonight if you wish. I have rooms available. I won't be offended if you say no, but there is a place if you want it.
Admittedly, it has been quite a while since I've slept in a actual bed, so I believe I might.
And you? She'll turn to Uriel.
Uriel kind of awkwardly rubs their neck. I must admit, seeing your collection was worth the price of the evening in and of itself. If I may ask the question, though, of it?
I don't guarantee an answer, but you can at least ask.
Of course. This helmet over here quite struck me. I was very taken with the detail work, that even after all this time, it's still intact. Apologize, I'm very excited. The deer and the rabbit. Was this a piece dedicated to Artemis by any chance?
Astute eye you have. Yes.
I have a deep love for the history of the arts, and Greek art has played a very central role in even the development of modern art. I have a great admiration for it.
Do you have a specialty in occult?
I believe it's esoteric symbolism.
Do you have any points in etiquette?
Let's see here, do I? 1.
Go ahead and roll intelligence and occult.
Okay.
Don't add your specialty, though.
Three successes.
Okay. You've been mostly independent and not dealing with the major clans, so that would not be enough for you. Rufus, do you have either etiquette or occult?
I actually have both, and I have more in etiquette than I do occult.
Okay, go ahead and give me intelligence and etiquette.
Okay. I also got 3 successes.
Rufus didn't spend much time around Ventrue, though, did he?
I mean, he spent quite a while in New York. He spent some time in New Orleans. So, a bit, not necessarily an exceedingly great amount, though.
Okay. Probably enough to know that there at least is a connection between Ventrue and Artemis. You might not know what it is, but you know that you've heard the names together before.
Okay.
Back to Valentina. Yes, they are all dedicated to Artemis.
That's amazing. You just see Uriel's eyes like light up as they look around the room and just like drink it all in. They're very, very excited about just being able to be here.
A room. Do you intend to stay tonight? It is getting early. Does Uriel answer or ignore her?
Oh, yes, that would be lovely, thank you.
Well, let me step out for a moment and arrange those. And with like a sweeping gesture, she'll open the doors and step out for a minute. Caitlin is just kind of like staring because she's surprised how the meeting went, I believe. You believe. Then Valentina will be back in a few minutes.
After she leaves, that went exceedingly better than I expected. I had heard that she was a bit prickly at times.
Well, I definitely think that bringing Caitlin back helped at least a little bit.
I'm nearly positive it is. I'm happy that we could get you back, by the way.
Yes, I'm very glad to be back. It was not a good place to be. Stakes
No.
tend to not be something we like to deal with.
No, I've been lucky enough to avoid staking as of yet, but
It was quite uncomfortable.
I assumed as much.
Yes, are there... You probably don't know, but, did they mention any others that were doing a similar thing?
They didn't really talk around me. They more just bled me.
I figure that might be the case. Rufus, you might want to interrogate them if Charlotte doesn't say otherwise. I worry that there might be more.
Oh, I fully intend on it. Not quite to the extent that the one that we handed to Charlotte will probably end up being, but they will not enjoy the time spent with me. At least initially.
Good. You need to not let them get away with that.
Oh, I don't intend on it. While they are alive, they will not enjoy the coming few nights, I'm sure.
Good. I didn't enjoy my nights with them.
Yes, and once their usefulness has run out with me, I feel like you might have something to do when I send them your way.
There's a few things I can think of. Valentina permitting, of course.
So, naturally. Also, I would probably make sure that it's okay with her before sending them your way. I'm sure she probably wouldn't have too much of a problem with it, but...
Inform her at the very least.
Yes.
And at that point, the doors open back up. Well, I have people ready to bring you to the rooms if you're ready to see them now. If not, I can let the floor workers know to expect you back shortly.
I suppose it probably wouldn't hurt to make my way to the room. Uriel, obviously, I'm not going to speak for you, but
Oh no, it's probably best. I have nothing further to do tonight.
Lovely. If you step outside, they are waiting for you right out the doors. I need a private word with Caitlin.
absolutely. And you have a good rest of your evening. And if I do not see you upon awaking, which I probably won't, you have a good rest of your evening tomorrow as well.
Have a pleasant evening, and I appreciate you bringing Caitlin back to me.
And Rufus
And
will step
she will
aside.
turn and begin to speak with Caitlin quietly. As quietly as she can. Valentina is a very loud person.
Uriel will quietly get up and leave.
Okay. And as you exit the doors, there are two other people waiting for you. And they both lead you the same way, but one is directing Uriel, the other is directing Rufus. You're on the same floor, not actually too far away from Valentina's office. It does look like this is kind of a private suite area. You're not sure if there's actual hotels in the casino itself. Likely not, but this area appears to be built for Valentina as such. And you're shown into two separate rooms, although they are basically identical. Greek inspired. The large windows do have powered curtains that come down to block everything out. So you can have an actual view at night and then close them for the day sleep. There is bathrooms. There's a small wardrobe, chest. Like, the rooms are not huge, but they're comfortably large for what would be a impromptu hotel room. Gold seems to be a running theme in colors. So, what would you two like? You're shown, you're left. The doors sound like they might lock behind you, but you're not 100% sure if you're locked in or not unless you try the handle.
Not overly worried about it.
Okay.
Rufus will actually take a hot shower rather than probably the lukewarm showers that he's used to.
Yes. Hot enough to actually feel the heat.
Yes. He will actually sit down and relax. Stretch his legs out a little bit before the day comes.
The mattress is quite comfortable. Probably one of the most comfortable things you've felt in a while. As expected from a Venture's guest suite. Is there anything Uriel would like to do?
This is a little bit of an odd question, but is there one of those, notepads by, a phone or something that, all hotels seem to have?
No. There's no phone. As this isn't a typical hotel room. This does seem to be catering more towards kindred.
Mm-hmm.
There is a small pad of paper, but no, hotel phone.
That's fine. That's fine. I was just making a connection there. Uriel is actually going to kick off their shoes and just kind of lay in the bed and pull out a ballpoint pen that they keep on them at all times and just sort of doodle on the notepad all the different images they saw in Valentina's collection, sketch out the spears and the helmets and the shields and all that, just until they feel like falling asleep.
Okay. It's not so much falling asleep as falling unconscious as the day comes.
Yep.
So, assuming you guys set the blinds, you don't turn into ash during the day.
Yes.
Or a corpse.
That's a given. That's a given.
You close the blinds, and the day comes, and the day sleep takes you. You're not sure what happens during the day. You think you'd be fine in the room, but you didn't check the doors, so you don't know if anyone's coming in or not. And then as the day progresses, night falls again. And you awaken. Everything seems to be as you left it. Give me your rouse checks.
I failed.
So you are at 2?
3.
3. Okay.
So I got a messy crit on the blood dice. Does that mean I passed or I failed?
You pass.
Okay, good.
Crits and messies don't matter with rouse checks. It's either a pass or a fail.
Okay, good.
So you succeed. So, as you guys awaken, one of your beasts demands to be fed. You feel it kind of scratching at the inside of your mind. It's hungry. But you can control it. You don't feel too out of control. But it is there and ever present. What would you guys like to do upon waking up?
Rufus will get dressed as quickly as he can, and then check the door.
It does open. You did hear it lock, So it's potentially locked from the outside to let you guys be aware that you are not going to be messed with once it locked. Maybe.
Okay.
So, as you open it, there are two people standing outside. One of them's a woman, which is to be expected here. The other one is actually a man.
Okay. I'm just gonna kind of look at both of them. Like, will I be escorted out, or am I free to go as I see fit?
And the woman speaks up. Oh, you're not being kept here. We will happily escort you out. Valentina wanted to offer food. And she gestures to the man. If you choose to partake.
You'll kind of look at them and be like, when's the last time that you've been fed from?
About a week?
Okay.
2? It's been a minute.
Okay. I'm just making sure that you can be before I don't want to hurt anything that's here.
And the woman speaks up again. Oh, no, most of us don't. We have other needs. There's a few people here for guests.
Okay. Like I said, there's just a safeguard on my end.
Of course. And the man would freely offer a wrist, stepping into the room to do so.
He will actually just take one.
Okay. The man looks healthy and fit, so it's not going to affect him in the way you're used to seeing.
Yeah, it's more so he doesn't want to take too much.
That's fine. But yes, a food/beverage is provided. Guest rights and all of that. So that is what Rufus is doing. What would Uriel like to do upon waking up?
Check their phone to make sure they haven't missed anything while out the night prior.
You did have a text come through. One of your herd that works in and around the other ghouls and herd and bonded. Not all of yours know what's happening, but this specific one is informed as to the kindred lifestyle. There's an image and a text, and the text reads, I found this while I was cleaning. I thought you might be interested in it. And the image is of a notepad, and it looks like there's like a rubbing, like a pencil rubbed over it. When you write too hard on a notepad, and it leaves an impression, and you can scrub over that page, and you can make out a couple of the words. It's hard to read on a text, but if you zoom in and strain your eyes, it reads unknown, and it's hit or miss what you can make out, and then where, ritual, some space, knife, wood. Give me 1 second. I forgot to grab that out of my bag.
Oh my, secrets.
It was just the name. I couldn't remember the name. Woodlawn.
And Uriel would recognize that name?
Yeah, there is a very large cemetery in Detroit called Woodlawn Cemetery.
Oh, very curious. Oh, very curious indeed. Shoot. Yeah. Before, kind of freshening themselves up and taking a morning shower, they will send a text to Rufus, forwarding the image. Feel like joining me at Woodlawn Cemetery?
Upon receipt, he would kind of take a look and try to figure out what it said on his end. And well, I have not a whole lot to do tonight beyond the issue with the ghoul and then getting the inspection started. Which that, realistically, that can wait till the end of the night. So I'd be happy to.
Excellent. And then Uriel will freshen themselves up and take their time taking a shower and head out.
Okay. Once you exit, there's also two people standing there, a woman and a man. And you get the same thing, that Valentina is offering food if you want to partake in it.
While the offer is appreciated, I'm afraid I must decline.
That's fine. It was just going to be offered if you wanted it.
Much appreciated.
Allow us to show the two of you down and to the garage port. If you're ready to leave, that is.
I think I am.
I don't know if Rufus would have waited, because I think Uriel's thing would have taken a little bit longer than just feeding.
He would probably be on his way down at the very least, but once he got that message, he would just wait.
Okay. So yeah, you would have been started to escort it down already. But both of you ended up being led back to the garage, the parking port. Parking area. Words. So. What would you guys like to do? Lottie and William do send messages saying that everything's okay. They're just finishing up what they were taking care of yesterday.
Rufus will just wait. Okay, well, we've got some things that we're taking care of, myself and Uriel, so just stay safe. William, don't forget to check in with your new business partner.
You get a response to that one, already on it, or will be soon.
Alright. So to Woodlawn Cemetery.
That's where you're going first?
Yeah, like I said, we can wait until the end of the night to take care of the other part.
Okay. So, it is quite the drive. Valentina's down here. Woodlawn is actually above where Rufus claimed.
I was looking on my map to see if it was on there.
It is just out of bounds of his area and Kat's area, so it is in neither.
Okay.
So it will take some time to get there. It'll be still early in the evening when you get there. But if you two have nothing to speak about on the way there, we will move on quickly.
Uriel would probably just make some polite conversation about what Rufus revealed the other night about his project. Ask him how he came up with the idea. If that's his ideas, and if he has any plans beyond that. Just polite conversation about that kind of thing.
He would tell you that it was something that he's been thinking about trying to do, just realizing that that particular structure was for sale was kind of a... well, he doesn't have a connection to it personally. He knows that the community does, and if he's going to claim that area of the city, feels like that would be the best place to, as it were, set up shop. Which is kind of why he picked that one, since it was such a beloved school when it was open. And as far as plans, like you said, homeless shelter, Valentina's shelter she so sees fit. Top couple floors to house new embraces if they were abandoned. And then an actual meeting area for his flock to actually worship and do what they need. And of course, community outreach.
Once it's off the ground, I'll have to catch one of your sermons.
Something tells me that you probably know more about what I'm talking about than I do sometimes. Tremere have a way of knowing more than everybody, even in a subject that they're supposed to be good at.
It's insufferable, isn't it?
Only on days that end in Y.
If it's any consolation, I do not regularly make it a habit of conducting official pyramid business. I was trained in a more independent manner and do business with who I see fit.
I assumed as much. I know there are more than a couple in the city that have been around that are wary of me for any number of reasons. The least of which being that I am a red-nose. We have a reputation that precedes us, and some of which is absolutely warranted, some of which isn't.
And yet, despite being a Ravnos, you've managed to successfully garner a flock.
There's a reason why I cater to who I cater to.
It makes sense.
So, more small talk is had on the drive up. And after some time, you pull up to a massive cemetery. Like, this is absolutely gigantic. And you're driving past some of its gated areas and eventually make your way to the gated entrance. It does appear locked, and it has a sign out in front that just says Woodland Cemetery.
I would assume that you don't want to try to scale a wall or a fence, would you?
I can if I need to, but I'd prefer not to.
That's kind of what I figured. I'll put on my running shoes, but I don't really feel like doing that tonight. Then he will proceed to put on his running shoes and try to unlock the gate.
I assume you parked the van a few blocks away,
Yes.
as is typical. Go ahead and give me Dex and Larceny.
3 successes.
That's enough. So the gate swings open nearly soundlessly. And you can close it behind you. Do you relock it or just make it appear to be locked?
Just appear to be locked.
Okay. There are no lights here. Everything is very dark.
Uriel, once we get in there, they will activate heightened senses and specifically focus on their sight so that they can see a little bit better in the dark.
Okay.
Rufus will take his pen light out and shine it into the darkness.
Okay. So, the moon is a sliver. It's not providing much light at this point in time. And as you get... are you guys walking forward?
Yes.
Uriel would be.
Okay. Following the road, I imagine. Okay. So, as you're walking, it's an eerie sight almost, because as the night gets colder, there is a fog rolling up from the ground. Starts about ankle height currently. Mostly on the grass. Some of it obviously spills onto the road.
Okay. Rufus will activate Sense the Unseen and will attempt to keep that going as long as he can.
Give me that roll, please.
Okay. That is 2 successes.
Okay. Currently, you see nothing. But I'll keep that in mind as you guys move on. It lasts for how long?
I believe it's just a scene, but I could be wrong on that.
That's fine. This whole thing should encompass the scene, because there won't be too much changing up of things.
Well, technically it's passive, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Then. Good times. So, moving forward, you leave the gates behind you, and you walk. There are so many gravestones. There are even mausoleums, and you can see crypts off in the distance. There are lots of trees, and with it being February, we are now on the night of February 10th. They're barren. There is no leaves. It is a very eerie sight with the fog rolling in. Give me if you want to try to figure out anything about this place, intelligence and academics. Or just intelligence for Rufus. Because I don't think you have academics.
No, I don't. That would be 1 success.
Okay.
3 successes.
Okay. So Rufus, you've been in the area. This is an older cemetery. It's not one of the oldest. Late 1800s, I believe. I don't remember exactly. It was like 1889 or 1880s or something like that is when this one was founded. So it's old. Parts of it are very old. And that's the part you're in now, because it's the newer, sprawled outwards. You don't know too much more about that. You do know it is a very large and there's a lot of influential people here. Uriel, you know that there is three successes. Last you were aware, there was over, I believe, 50,000 people interred here. It is 140 acres of cemetery. And many crypts, many mausoleums. It was at one point, if not still, the largest private graveyard of crypts and mausoleums. And I believe in Michigan. And so you continue walking. So you walk for some time now. The fog is rolling up to about knee height at this point, 'cause it's been a good half an hour, 45 minutes. And you both begin to see movement far out. It is difficult to make out given everything, but go ahead and give me wits and awareness and then add, not you, Dengle, because you're not doing, there's no sense the unseen things here, but for your heightened senses, go ahead and give me the additional stuff on that.
Yeah, 4 successes.
I'm gonna burn a willpower to re-roll that because I got no successes out of 6 dice, and it makes me mad.
If you want, Rufus is able to spot them, so it's up to you.
It's a matter of principle. I got 2 successes.
So you can make out movement. It's difficult to make out. You can't tell what they are, though. They might be 4-legged. Rufus, you do recognize these as actually being animals. It takes you a minute to figure out what they are, but they appear to be deer shifting off in the distance, coming in and out of perception with the fog as they move. In between that and through the trees, it's difficult to make out how many there are.
I hope you don't mind 4-legged friends. They're not dogs, they're deer, but still.
Okay, I don't mind. I was about to ask if they were an alternate version of folk of our persuasion, but if they're a deer, I doubt that would be the case.
Right, and I don't believe that they would be lupine either, so. It's not to say that they aren't sent by someone, however, chances are relatively low.
In amongst the deer, Rufus, you see a couple of things that you can't really identify moving in between them that are fading in and out of sight. There's not many. Maybe two. But as they're shifting and moving, it's hard to make out exactly how many there are.
Okay. He will kind of not work his way over there, but try to position himself to get a better view.
Are you stepping off the road?
He would be willing to step off the road
Okay.
and act as though he is looking at the gravestones and markers and mausoleum plaques and such.
Okay. Uriel, do you follow or do you stay on the road?
Uriel will probably stay on the road, but try and follow from the road as best they can.
So the road is going this way. The deer are way out to the side, as is whatever Rufus saw. So if Rufus is heading that way, there isn't, unless he's going diagonal, there isn't really a way to follow on the road. You can stay there. You can continue on. There's whatever you want to do.
They will wait for a moment to see how far Rufus goes, and if Rufus looks like he's going, out pretty well, they'll follow.
He'd start with 15, 20 feet, and if he needs to go a little bit further, he'd go out to 30.
So the deer are couple yards out. It's not just a handful of feet.
Yeah, I figure probably 50, 60 yards out minimum.
Yeah, they're not close. So if you were attempting to make your way that way, getting a handful of feet isn't really going to bring them too much more into focus. You can start to see a couple more deer as you get closer.
Yeah, he's just
but
trying
no
to
more
figure out
figures.
Yeah, that's what he's mainly worried about.
Mm-hmm. They appear to stand taller than the deer. But there's not really a form to speak of. There isn't a body. They're difficult to make out against the fog.
Rufus will actually shine his light over there to illuminate the deer.
So you catch their eyes, and there is at least 6 speckles that you see of that refracted light. But the light passes through what you were looking for, and then as you sweep it, they aren't there anymore.
Well, that's good. And he'll make his way back to the road.
Okay. You make it back just fine.
I believe we have admirers of the spectral variety. Could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Very curious. Not surprising, but curious. This is, after all, a very old and very expansive cemetery.
I just hope if that's the case, they're not violent. I don't believe I have anything that will be effective to defend ourselves.
Would you like me to attempt to discern whether we might have issues with them?
If that is something that you can do, by all means.
No guarantees, but I know something that may help. If you will stay still for a moment and stay quiet, I will see what I can hear. And they'll close their eyes, try and focus on the deer and the figures in the mist, and activate premonition.
Okay. You feel the sense of belonging at first. Then you can get an animalistic feel behind it. So that's the deer. There's a herd here. They're comfortable here. The ones that walk among them aren't herd. They are not of this world. There's no aggression. There is loss. There is pain. There is suffering. There's some acceptance. But there's no anger. There's no violence. Hang on, let me pull up that one again because I don't quite remember everything that it does. I just need to start pulling this up when I have you here. I do need you to give me that roll. Oh, and rouse check if you are provoking it.
Yes, I passed the rouse check.
Okay.
And let me roll the resolve and awesome.
No matter what result you get those feelings.
Four successes.
Okay. There's more beyond. There are other things here. Things of death. Things of the grave. You can almost feel the dirt cloying around you because of it. It's an odd sensation. But what you're looking for, you think, is deeper. It's hidden. It is underground. Maybe where the sense of cloying earth is from. Hard to tell. But as of yet, there is no violence. There's the trace of it, but you're not in danger.
Uriel will kind of, just reflexively shiver and shake their arms like they're trying to shake dirt off. And as they open their eyes, they'll turn to Rufus. I believe as long as we stay respectful, we will not be in any danger. Violence is an innate part of life and death. However, there is no malice yet.
Oh, good. It's not one of those things that I particularly want to deal with unless if absolutely positively necessary. As long as they don't have any ill will, neither will I.
Furthermore, I believe Our quarry, whatever it might be, lies further on. Would you be opposed to going deeper into the cemetery?
No, it's fine. We came here for a reason, and that's the reason. So let's trek on.
So you make your way deeper. Do you continue following the road or do you veer off? There are slight
As we
paths
go, are there
leading
any-
off if you want to make your way to towards some of the mausoleums and things. The road may eventually take you there, but you can follow some paths.
I know it might be a little bit hard to see with the fog, but are there any recent signs of disturbance?
Wits and awareness.
Three successes.
I mean, there's been people here during the daytime. There is some tire marks, there's footprints. So there are recent disturbances, but nothing that appears to have been happening in the last little bit of time that you guys have been here. But it's a very popular cemetery. So there's definitely a lot of traffic. But you do see paths and things that you can take that seem to be well trodden. The grounds is well kept, but there's trails.
They stay on the road then for now.
For now.
Okay. So you guys continue on. You see more deer off in the distance. You see more things walking among them. Could be ghosts. Could be something else. Not sure what they are. They keep their distance for the most part, though. Some pop up closer and then kind of fade off. So you guys continue walking. You're a good distance from the gate now. It's between the trees, the fog, and how deep you are in, you can no longer see any fences. You see graves, you see trees. The procession that's been your companion since you've arrived. And that's all you're able to see, really.
Do you think that if we were to approach them and ask them a question, they would be willing to respond?
I am not a necromancer. I cannot judge the will of spirits, but as of now, they bear us no ill will. I suppose it doesn't hurt to try. Whether they are able or not might be another matter entirely.
True. I don't know if you can see things that normally you can't, but I do have that capability, so worst case scenario.
I can if I so choose, however, I do not have it currently going. So I will allow you to lead us.
Isn't it a passive ability?
It is.
I thought we had to activate. Command scene.
So if you're actively searching, you can roll resolve in aspects, but it won't take away from heightened senses, I don't believe.
Okay. I stand corrected. At any rate, lead on.
So yeah. Rufus will veer off on a path
Okay.
that way.
Did you want to attempt to see them? It's resolve in aspects if you wanted to roll that.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
If you'll allow.
Yeah, no, I was rolling off your 4, but you can try it again since it's been a good chunk of time. Buttons if you wanted to make that roll as well.
Yep, 2. Still.
I got 5.
I do, for some reason, have wits / resolve plus aspects, so I guess you can use either? Or no, I'm sorry. No, wits is something else. My apologies. So it's resolve and aspects. What did you get?
5.
Okay. You definitely see them. You probably see them a bit more clearly than he does. You can tell that they are humanoid and ghost-like. Rufus has a hard time making... I'm sorry, what was your next current roll?
2 still.
2. Yeah, you have a difficult time making them out against the fog, but you still can tell something is there. But Uriel can begin to make out the ghostly figures. So as you veer off and onto one of these paths, you begin walking, and the fog is a little bit higher now. And as you get a handful of feet off the road, it appears that the fog just swallows up the road. You can see the path where you're going somewhat. Easy enough to continue to follow it, but hard enough to make it out in the distance.
Wow, this is certainly something.
It is. Perhaps we should have played Hansel and Gretel and Trail of Breadcrumbs.
Watch the deer come along and eat them.
Oh, absolutely.
Shall we press on or should we turn back?
I believe we're in deep enough that we should just keep pushing. But then again, I am ravenous. So.
And if we're going with Hansel and Gretel theme, I'm sure soon enough, one way or the other, we'll find we've been going in circles.
Oh, it'll probably be okay.
At least it means that we'll probably at some point make it back to the road.
And if not, there are mausoleums.
True. Have you spent a night in a mausoleum before? Or a day? Pardon me?
Sure. I honestly can't remember, though. It's not one of those things that you would want to remember if you don't have to.
I suppose that's fair. We shall press on then, I suppose.
So while the road was leading you in one direction, this path veers off almost parallel. Parallel? Off the side of it. That's the word I was looking for. It's late. So it veers off perpendicular to it almost entirely. And you're following this almost snaking trail. It's not straight. And you can see gravestones popping out of the fog now and then. Some low ones you can see to the ground not far from where you're walking. And all the while you are making your way closer to some of these ghostly apparitions. And they're still where they were following alongside you almost before. They have turned and making their way kind of also in the same direction you were headed. Not entirely. They're still veering a little bit. But if you continue on, you might meet up with some of them, as long as they don't change their direction.
So now I will defer to somebody that's not as apt to take risks. We want to keep proceeding on. It seems like they're not actively necessarily avoiding us, but they don't necessarily want to talk.
At the very least, it would be interesting to see where they're going. I'm still curious as to why clues would be left for us to come here. If there is some ritual, after all, that is drawing them in, it would be in our best interest to know about it, I think.
You're probably right.
Uriel, you hear what sound like footsteps off in the distance, although you can't see anything. One, maybe two sets. They're not in a rush. They seem slow and paced.
I hear someone off in the distance. Not too far, but not too close.
It would seem that we have a more solid admirer then.
Do you wish to continue on quietly, or should we alert them to our presence?
Well, I can be as quiet as I so see fit. I feel like given the fact that we've been tromping around up until now, they might already know that we're here.
Fair point.
If you wish
Shall we
to be
continue
quiet,
then?
go ahead and give me stealth and dex. Rufus, I know you have silence of death, so you're fine.
Oh, this is going to be a great roll. Two successes. I can't really do much better.
Okay. The dead silence of the cemetery, your footsteps sound deafening to you. But you've heard louder. You don't think you're making a ton of noise. Because of your sensory issue, you're also not sure how far away the other people are. But you hear them. And you continue on?
Yes.
Okay. So you're coming up kind of to a hill, and as you crest over it, you can see a very large mausoleum structure pushing up over the fog in the distance. Hard to tell how far away because you're seeing it through fog and such, and you're not sure where this road is taking you, or this path is taking you. And it's still a good ways off. You can see it simply because of the size of it over the fog, which is thick now. It's hard to make out the ground unless it's directly close to you. The deer seem to have tapered off a little bit. The figures that you keep seeing seem a little bit more plentiful now. There's more of them. Some aren't actually that far off. Maybe 50, 100 feet at this point. And they're just gliding through. And then Uriel, you hear more footsteps. Some sound a little bit closer. Some a little bit farther. Still can't see anything.
Do most of the spirits look like they're headed in a particular direction, or are they just kind of milling around?
Most of them seem to be headed in a vague direction towards that mausoleum, but they're also not moving with a heavy purpose. They just seem to be kind of moving in that direction, which is why they were sort of following the same path you were on. But there are others that are not moving that direction. It's just the majority of them.
Okay. Well, I think we found our waypoint.
No, that's probably for the better.
Certainly is a towering presence.
For better or for worse.
So as you continue on, are you following the path, or are you cutting through and making a direct beeline towards it? Or are you going to talking or attempt to talk to some of the spirits?
Rufus would actually do whatever Uriel was feeling that they want to do. Rufus is okay tromping through the mud, snow, grass, whatever it is. I assume snow at this point in the year.
There are some patches of snow. It's been snowing on and off the past few days, but most of it is like that dead, muddy grass. But there is snow on the ground.
Okay.
Uriel would not be naturally inclined to engage with any of the spirits and would prefer to leave them be to their own devices, unless asked to.
Okay.
Otherwise, they would use the mausoleum as a focal point and make a relatively direct route, being careful not to like completely and totally tromp over graves or anything overtly disrespectful like that.
So you are breaking from the trail you were on.
Yes.
Okay. And Rufus, you follow?
Yes.
So as you walk, you do have to avoid some gravestones, some headstones. You stumble maybe over a couple of the lower ones that you didn't quite see, but for the most part you are able to make your way over or around them. And then both of you go ahead and give me another wits and awareness, please. Without aspects.
Give you one guess what I rolled.
2.
That would be correct.
Okay.
It's better than my 1.
So you have 3? Was that a yes? I looked at... You have 3?
No, I said it's better than my 1.
Oh.
So I only rolled 1.
I thought you said by 1. So the footsteps, they don't taper off, but they go quiet. And then you're still walking. You see the ghostly presence still. They're still around. And then they seem to get a little heavier. More are kind of shifting into vision as you walk. Coming up from, again, 50, 100 yards out. Coming more in your direction than not. There's, where there was maybe 3 within that distance, there's now 4, 5, maybe 6. Then you continue on. And then the footsteps are loud. You can both hear them now. You can make out maybe 2. Hard to tell exactly how many. Could be 3. And you can make out shapes in the fog. They're thin and tall. And definitely heading in your direction. Somewhat. They're not cornering you. But there's a few angling up on the side. And if you turn, you can make out one kind of in the distance behind you.
Rufus will kind of call out into the night, "Good evening."
You don't get a response. They seem to be matching your pace.
What, you don't want to talk? If this is your domain, then I do apologize for not announcing myself, but was also unaware.
Still nothing.
I must say I am not fully aware of any of our brethren claiming this area, but then again I do not conduct much business up this way.
I'm sure the Giovanni or Cappadocian or whoever else that believes they're playing Hakata now probably frequents the area at the very least.
Do you believe we were walking into a Hakata ritual then?
It is definitely possible. However, without seeing it firsthand, I can't tell you yes or no.
Then shall we see?
Our interests are aligned. However, we have interests for different reasons. Mine is purely for something new. Yours is, I'm sure, academics. So, absolutely.
The two may overlap. And Uriel will smile and continue on.
Okay. The figures still seem to be keeping pace with you. But you see another figure come up. Again, on one of your sides. And they have this, like, little bit of a swaying walk to it. It's odd. Almost disconcerting. And another few of the spirits, ghosts, whatever they are, come up on the other side. So there's definitely more of them now.
Continue walking toward the mausoleum.
Okay. So, you keep on. And you get closer. You're still not very close to it, but you are definitely closer. And you begin to make out the figures as they slowly pick up the pace a tiny bit. One of them is very pallid looking. Another one is very gaunt. Another one has like a rictus grin on his face.
Oh, good. Now at least I have a face to a, well, I don't know what to call you at this juncture. However, again, good evening. If we've interrupted something, we do apologize. We can leave if you wish us to.
It still doesn't speak. But it opens its mouth and there's just like this animalistic noise to it. It's not a scream, it's not a yell, but both of you have been around mortals as they die. It's reminiscent of some of those sounds.
Uriel visibly flinches back from the sudden noise.
It's not overly loud, but it is loud enough.
More the suddenness than anything else.
Mm-hmm. And another figure pops up, coming out of the fog. Similar sway to it. And you realize it's been a minute since you've passed a gravestone. The fog is still dense, but you're not having to step around or over things anymore.
Given Rev's somewhat familiarity with the city and the area, would he know about where the cemetery is supposed to be?
I don't think you would have spent too much time in this cemetery.
No, but would he know if there's a area like this that has kind of like a lawn leading up to a mausoleum?
Ah. Go ahead and just roll your intelligence. Because you don't have academics, I don't believe.
No, he's not smart enough for all
Go
that.
ahead and roll your insight, too. So, intelligence and insight.
That is 2 successes.
That you can recall, this should just be a graveyard.
Okay.
There might be patches of open land, but like, this is a fairly packed graveyard.
Well, does it seem like we're getting closer to the mausoleum at all?
No. You've hit a certain distance of it. You are closer than you were before. But no, doesn't appear you've gotten closer in the past little bit.
Is this something that you feel that we should keep pursuing, or do you think it's just a trick of the mind's eye?
Hmm. There is something going on here. But I can't put a name to it. And Uriel will pull out their cell phone to see if they even have service wherever they ended up.
Nope.
Fantastic. No service.
Oh, that's wonderful. You're not averse to silver and holy symbols, are you?
I should hope not.
We're going to figure that out shortly. And he will actually pull out his cross he wears and just let that dangle outside of his shirt.
Doesn't appear to do anything. What outfit are you wearing, by the way? Is it your typical garb?
It is, yeah, it's typical, like, get up.
Okay. Yeah, the frost doesn't seem to do overly much. They do hesitate for a minute, but doesn't stop them.
And Rufus will start
Another one
walking.
comes up out of the fog.
Rufus will stop and turn around and just start walking the complete opposite way.
So back towards the one behind you.
Well, yeah, there is that one. Like, are we forced to go to whatever that is?
They don't talk.
What do you think the best course of action is here?
I think it's pretty clear that they want us to continue on, whether to help them or to harm us, I don't know.
That's fair. In the meantime, do you care if I recite some of my father's favorite passages?
Not at all. You might want to pray last rites at some point.
Oh, I've done that years ago. Actually, back week of July 4th, 1999. I believe I did that for myself. Just one way or another, I was going to either make it through that week or not.
If we make it out, you'll have to tell me that story.
Well, we might have time. So, anyway, and he proceeds to recant the Week of Nightmares to the Tremere. And how the Ravnos Methuselah was awoken and made all the Ravnos go crazy.
Yep. So, are you continuing walking?
Yeah, probably at this point.
Okay. I'm sorry, Buttons. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna respond in character to all that. So
No, go for it. I was just making sure you guys were walking or not.
yeah, as they're walking, Uriel's eyes get really big as they listen to Rev talk. You lived through the week of nightmares.
Yes, it was rather eventful.
That is an understatement if ever I have heard one, my goodness. I must admit, this is my first time hearing first-hand accounts. I've seen a few scraps of written testimony buried in archives, but I've never heard it before.
Yes, I believe that was the last time that I ever killed anybody. I've made it quite a while without having an accident.
Well, if you're waiting for judgment on my end, I have none to give. We all have our pasts.
Some are a little bit more eventful. Whether or not that's good is a matter of preference at this point. I could have dealt without some of the events. It's my bad, but it is what it is at this point.
And that is something we can certainly both agree on then.
Another figure comes out of the fog. Still a distance from you guys. But there's another one. There's quite a few now.
And at this point, he's going to kind of just turn to the nearest one that he can actually somewhat make out. If there's something that you wish us to do, just indicate, and we will attempt to do that.
Did Uriel also turn? Or are you still facing the mausoleum?
Uriel would have turned when Rufus turned.
Okay. They still come closer. They're not stopping. It's about a walking pace, but they're not stopping.
I don't know if this is actually going to help or not. But he's going to eventually get angry enough. Or, well, annoyed enough to attempt to actually use Compel on one of these things.
Okay.
Show us what you want.
Is there a role involved with that one?
There would be, yes. That would be charisma plus dominate versus intelligence and resolve.
I don't actually know the stats for these, so we're just gonna go with something.
And I am going to spend a willpower on my end.
Okay.
Okay. I got 4 successes.
Okay. I forgot their stats in the back of this. A moment, please.
And the reason why I spent the willpower is because I have a skull, which is an issue.
What was it again?
Compel is charisma and dominate versus intelligence and resolve, I do believe.
Okay, I did not roll nearly enough dice. Just for this generic one. It did not work. Rolled a crit, unfortunately for you.
Yep.
No, I guess I should have kept that out, shouldn't I have? But yeah, it doesn't work. While you're involved with that, Uriel, give me wits and awareness.
Three.
You notice a light out of the corner of your eye from where the mausoleum is. And there's a figure behind it, and they appear to be headed your way.
Uriel will tap Rev on the shoulder and draw his attention to the figure.
Revel half angrily turned, but what? Then when he realized,
There's someone coming.
oh, do you think they can keep up with us if we start running?
Something tells me maybe, but they do have a light.
First one there owes the other $5. And Revel
I
take
would
off.
take you. Uriel will just kind of sigh and take off running as well.
If you're actually going to race for it, go ahead and do Dex and Stamina. If you don't care, then we'll just go with it.
I'm
Or
curious to
Dex
see
and
how badly
athletics,
I'll
or
do.
Dex and stamina.
Dex and stamina would be a little bit better. I got 3 and I'm not re-rolling on this.
You got 3? I got 1 with a skull.
Rev trips over a tombstone.
No twosomes right here.
Rev trips over a wet patch of grass.
You do slip a little bit, put you behind. But now that you see the light, you are getting closer to it, actually. Whereas before, you were just in this, like, you weren't moving towards anything. You were just moving. But you can actually get closer to the light now. And as you get closer, you see it's like it's waving a little bit, so it's on a stick. It seems to be like someone just holding something with a torch on it. And there is a figure behind it. You can make him out a little bit more. Seems to be in like overly large clothes or something like that.
I assume our
Great,
friends
what
are
the-
keeping pace.
A little bit. They're behind. They're giving chase, but not to your speed. The ghosts do taper off a little bit.
Continuing on to the lantern person. At least
Okay.
Rebel. I don't know about Uriel.
Uriel will as well.
A couple feet in front of Rufus. Maybe pushing on 10 or so. Hence the slip. So, you guys both make it there, not too far after each other. And there's a very gaunt and pale figure there, although they're giving a motion to get behind them.
And Rufus will definitely do so.
As one of you passes, they kind of hold the lantern out there holding it, and it is attached to like a stick, so you can use it as a walking stick with a lantern on it. Looks very old-fashioned and old, but they'll hold it out to one of you.
Uriel will gingerly take it. Very
Okay.
curious about the mechanism itself.
It just looks like an old lantern.
But it's old.
It is old, and it's made of metal. And the figures are still coming closer, and as they get within a reasonable distance, the figure will, and they're wearing like almost a robe, but not quite. It's still an outfit. Kind of pull back the sleeve of it and pull a familiar to Rufus dagger out. You saw this at the Setite auction. Out. And kind of make a slice on their arm, and the scent of Vitae hits you. So this is a kindred. And they just kind of like splash it in front of them, and the figures stop. They don't touch the blood. And after a little bit of time, and the kindred splashing a little bit farther out, the figures back away. And leave and disappear off into the fog.
That was certainly handy.
What are you doing here? And they turn, and it's hard to tell, but they look a little bit more on the masculine side of things. Very, very pale skin. Makes the lips stand out quite a bit. Stringy, blonde, reddish hair. Very gaunt features. Pale eyes. Very corpse-like.
Uriel will kind of give them a once-over before speaking carefully. A note, or at least fragments of a note, came into my possession, detailing only this cemetery, a knife, and a ritual. I was curious as to why this would come into my possession, and invited my friend to come with me to check it out.
And they will hold their hand out to take the lantern back.
Uriel will return it.
Unless you know the area, it is not safe to wander here, especially at night. And you do now see there are gravestones again. So you don't know what happened.
Well, I assure you we're not going to be wandering during the day.
You're here for a ritual. I haven't performed any tonight. If it is a blade you're looking for, this is mine.
I believe you've recently acquired said blade, yes?
I did.
Fair. Do you know if the previous owners used it?
This
I would
one is
assume.
not a new one, no.
Fair. I assume that you don't have a history on the blade either.
You would have to ask the Setites for that one. I was not given anything.
I believe I'll avoid their gem, at least for a short period of time.
Usually a wise choice. This, and I'll point to the dagger that's on his waist. This was the only reason I went. And you do recognize him. This is the person you saw there.
That is absolutely fair. I was actually half thinking about possibly putting a bid in and then thought better of it. Didn't really have a use for it necessarily.
No. This is a dagger for rituals of the dead.
So it's safe to assume that you were of Clan Hekata, then.
I prefer Cappadocian, but that is the name they're calling us now.
Yes. Good to actually meet somebody that knows the differences. So a real necromancer then.
And he'll gesture his arm out. If you couldn't tell, this is my space. Not many come here.
Probably for good reason.
It is a focal point of something. I doubt you want to stand out in the fog, though, so come in if you wish. And I'll gesture to the mausoleum behind him, which the door is open.
That would be appreciated.
And I'll lead you in.
Well, yep.
So the area where you enter is a typical mausoleum, although it is very nice inside, well kept. But he leads you down and kind of into a hidden area, somewhat. And you can see this is probably where he spends a lot of his time. There are seats, there's tables, some books. Nothing too personal out here, though. I am curious about how you came to know of this. And I'll speak to Uriel.
Well, it is, as I said, fragments of a note detailing the items that I had recounted earlier came into my possession after they were found in Tremere territory.
Are you also a Tremere, then?
I am Tremere, but I do not typically associate with the pyramid, if you catch my meaning.
Is it something I need to worry about that you will be attempting to take this from me?
Oh, not at all. I came here for answers and nothing more.
So someone seeks it, then.
Sure seems that way. Although you said that this place was a focal point, you mean an energetic focal point?
Did you not notice it on your trip in? The oddness.
I suspected. Yes. Suspected, but it's nice to have it confirmed.
This is an old place. A place of power. Odd happenings.
Although I must admit, it seems as I am at a disadvantage. I do not think I fully understand that dagger. Is there something about it that would be particularly appealing to any wayward kin of mine?
They were involved with ceremonies of the dead, probably not. Although your kind is known for hoarding artifacts. Wanting them all for themselves.
I can't deny that. However, it does concern me that this note mentioned a ritual in the same...
Yes. It is a ritual blade. A blade made for enhancing rituals involving death, spirits. It harms them if it comes to it.
So what I'm hearing is certainly a good thing to keep near them, to keep them where they're supposed to be.
Yes, it helps control the wayward ones.
And I assume our admirers were specters of some sort.
No, they were something much different.
Must admit, that's not where my expertise lies.
What were they?
What do you know of things other than us?
I know that there are things other than us. A little beyond that, not many specifics outside the lupines that frequent the area.
They don't often tread here. Those things were called grave wights. Things of the Fae. You stepped off the path that attracted their attention.
Interesting. Admittedly,
The dead,
morbidly
the
so,
lost,
but
the confused. It all attracts their attention. I have answered many of your questions, and yet you came here seeking what I own, knowingly or not. In return, would you figure out why your kin are looking for this?
certainly. I can see how that would be dangerous in many hands that I know of, and that's not something I would wish to particularly deal with either.
Then I will answer more of your questions if you have them.
Aside from us, have any others come poking around that you've noticed?
There's always some young kindred poking around the cemeteries. It interests them. Some make it out. Some don't. Few get as far as you do before they turn back. Or as you did.
Any in particular that caught your attention or raised your concern more so than the others?
No, I keep out of most kindred affairs.
Understandable. Rufus, a question for you.
Absolutely.
You were at the same auction where the
Yes.
knife was sold. Were there Others that seem to take a particularly keen interest on trying to get it and were sorely disappointed when they did not.
Admittedly, I wasn't paying as much attention to this particular item as others.
Fair enough. Figured it would not hurt to ask.
Would you possibly remember who your opponents were during the bidding of the item?
No, I didn't really care to even pay attention to that.
I guess as much.
This was the only object that had caught my attention. So, it was all I cared about.
Perhaps inquiring to the ministry wouldn't necessarily be the worst idea that we've had, though. However, as I said, I will be avoiding their premises for the time being.
If any of them come, they won't have as pleasant of a time as you did.
I do appreciate the help, by the way.
Indeed.
Not many know how to repel those. There's other ways. They cannot touch our blood.
Good to know if we ever run into one again.
I would hope you do not.
Now, the next question that I have is, how do we get out of here?
You follow the path that will take you to the road.
Fair.
I can have my ghoul lead you to it. To the exit, if you wish. But again, only if you give me your word that you will find information for me.
I would also need a way to get in contact with you if information was found, so I didn't necessarily have to traverse here.
Or if someone decided to get brazen and go after the knife before we find them.
I rarely use it, but I do have a cell phone. My ghoul uses theirs more.
Then that would probably be the better idea to get the contact information for them.
Of course. I would like to know your names.
You may call me Uriel.
And I assume that you don't remember mine from the auction then.
You didn't catch my interest there.
Good. Then it's Rufus.
Mine is Leon.
It is nice to make your acquaintance. by chance, did anybody catch your interest there?
Few of our kind do.
That is fair. I deal with the ones that I deal with because I choose to.
Allow me to get my ghoul to show you out. Unless you had other questions for me. My attention was only brought to you by circumstance. Otherwise, I likely wouldn't care.
Good. So I will trust that my name stays behind your lips.
I have few people to talk to spread it.
Again, advantageous for us, at the very least. By all means, get your ghoul and let them lead us out. I don't have any further questions for you. And we will do our best to get the information that you want.
Agreed.
Gathering knowledge takes time, so I would rather you not rush and miss anything. But a moment. And he walks into another room. Do you do anything while he's away?
No, I'm not messing with his stuff.
He does leave the light there so you guys can see.
Yeah, I'm not going to mess with too much. He will, however, remember that he's still got his cross out and like put that back.
Okay.
Doesn't seem to have bothered him.
No, it did not bother him. So, after a few minutes, a woman walks out and Uriel, you actually slightly recognize this person. You've spoken with them a few times through your sire. Like, you recognize them as being around from your sire. Hello. Leon asked me to escort you out. My name is Evelyn.
Nice to meet you, Evelyn. I believe I recognize you.
I've been around a minute. I do. Leon's running around. I can't say I recognize you, though.
You used to do business with my sire, I believe.
And that was?
Dr. Gabriel Lockman?
The name is familiar. It's been a while, though.
I'm Uriel, by the way.
Nice to make your acquaintance. And you? I was told we need to exchange numbers.
Yes. And he'll take out a piece of paper and like write down his number. Be like, I don't know if you have your device on you or not. However,
She'll pull it out of her pocket.
oh, good. And he'll just hand the piece of paper over.
And she will add it into her phone. And if you pull yours out, you find that you do have weak service for being underground, but you do have service again.
Oh, okay.
Does Uriel also give her their number?
Yeah, they would.
And you each receive... Well, you don't receive the text yet, as it's very bad reception down here. But they will go through the motions of sending texts. Okay. You will have my number soon. Is there anything I can answer? Anything I can do? Or would you like to leave now?
I don't have very many questions. And frankly, and this is purely just because I'm not used to being in this type of graveyard or cemetery. It's a bit uneasy.
It does take time being around the actual dead.
Right. I think it's more so with the other entities that are out there.
There are a few. And she'll grab the lantern that Leanne had left behind. Well, if you do have questions, we can walk and talk. Let us rid your unease of this place.
I do appreciate it.
And she will lead you out of the mausoleum. And there is a path. It is a little bit windy. But the trip back to the road is faster, goes faster than you remember it as once you left it.
Okay.
The fog doesn't seem quite as thick either. It's still there, but you can see now. Maybe it's because of the light. And it is a fire lantern. It is not just a flashlight. It's small enough flame that it's not causing your beast to fear it, but it is there. So you are escorted out. Did you have any more questions that Evelyn might be able to answer?
I don't know if Uriel would, but Rufus certainly wouldn't.
Nope.
Just to be thorough, Uriel would ask the usual, have you noticed anyone particularly unusual trying to come in through the graveyard aside from us? Anyone seem particularly intent on reaching the mausoleum? Just the usual slew of questions to make sure they cover their bases.
The answer would be pretty much not really. The handful of kids that, are dared to spend the overnight in the cemetery, other small things like that. Young kindred trying to either claim territory or see what the graveyard is about or other things like that, but nothing that overly stands out. And she does reveal that she is a caretaker of the place during the day or evenings. So, you guys are led to the road. And then you're let out. It's past midnight at this point. You do, during your walk, had received the messages that she had sent, so you do have her number now. And the message she would have sent was Leon's number. So if you absolutely needed it, you would have his.
Okay. Rufus would, as they were walking it, obviously save said numbers, and then get a hold of the ghoul from the night before.
Okay.
Just through text message. With just, where are you?
At the house, same place you left us.
I will be there, not necessarily shortly, but I will be there. Hang tight.
Will do. I do need a minute. I will be right back. So if you guys wanted to discuss in or out of character, give me a couple minutes.
Okay.
So first order of business, would Uriel need to be dropped off anywhere? Or want to be dropped off anywhere?
They would probably ask to be, they'd probably be asked to be dropped off at, they'd probably be asked to dropped off, probably in a parking garage near the DIA, the Detroit Institute of Arts Museum. It was back up by where we were doing the stuff in the Tremere territory the other night.
Okay.
Their haven is nearby.
Okay. Rufus would absolutely be willing to do so. For, well, obvious reasons. However, on the way, he would inquire a little bit more about your research that you've done, because you did mention some.
Yes, I've done a lot of research in a few different areas. My background during my living years and how I make my money is through art history and restoration. However, I've always had a fascination with occult matters, particularly of the esoteric variety and the intersection between religion and spiritualism. My father and my grandfather were both members of the Order of the Golden Dawn. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but if you have, that might explain a lot.
It doesn't ring a bell, however, I'm sure I probably have heard of it. One way or another.
Let's just say there was a reason I was embraced into the Tremere.
you seem to have a way around knowing things. Don't necessarily want to say books because I haven't actually seen you physically do research, but you have a knack for knowledge.
Thank you.
It's funny that you say research because I've recently gotten into collecting old bits of literature, whether it be Bibles or other religious texts, as it were. Not all of my flock necessarily follows one religion or another, so I want to be more inclusive.
Fascinating. It reminds me of a mortal movement that popped up a while ago. I don't know if you've heard of it. The Unitarian Universalists. They're very fascinating.
Yes, apparently they can ordain online or whatever it might be. I don't know. As in life, so in unlife, as it were. Just put it that way. Are you particularly faithful? Just out of curiosity.
That's a tricky question.
I didn't necessarily want to say religious because, well,
yes.
faith is more fitting, especially nowadays.
Yes. I would consider I don't want to say agnostic, but maybe something close. I believe that there are higher powers at work in the world around us and through us. However, I do not know for sure if they are what they say they are or if we will ever truly understand them. I would call myself more of a spiritualist than a religious person, if that makes any sense.
That makes good enough sense, as it were. It's a pity you weren't there for the conversation I had with William a couple nights ago. I believe that would put everything into perspective for you regarding me. But as it sits, there's a reason why I say faith. They're faithful rather than religious. So while I present as reverend, and I am to some, to others I'm just a talking board, sounding board, whatever you want to call it, and I'll allow them to put their faith wherever they so choose. For us and our kind, I don't believe putting our faith in the more traditional places are necessarily the best idea. We were made this way for a reason. Or, well, the original was made this way for a reason. So I don't think putting faith in the person that made us that way is necessarily the best idea for us. However, I do believe the whole first murder and all that fun stuff, and how we were supposed to come to be.
And how do you feel about us carrying the weight of sins of people long past?
I think we carry our own sins. I think we all carry our own sins. I don't think any one person carries our sins. We just were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Some of us. Others knew the wrong people. And we are, well, forced to be a certain way that isn't necessarily advantageous. However, some might call it just. There's a reason why I call what I call accidents as accidents. At the end of the day, that is our nature. We can control it most of the time. However, sometimes it accidentally takes hold. And we accidentally do things that we don't necessarily want to do. Some of us, not as much. Some of us willingly do that, and that's not an accident. However, for me, I try to be better every night.
I will say you seem to be more open and accepting than many clergy I have had the displeasure of running across in my life or unlife.
I just think that we shouldn't have to hold on to our past to be able to better our future. I'm sure you've done things in your past that you would like to forget. And while this isn't necessarily supposed to turn into a confessional, if that's what you wanted to do, I'm here. I don't think that you put a whole lot of stock or faith in it, but some people do.
There are things I would rather forget, but in a literal and metaphorical sense, they have made me who I am, and despite being traumatic in the moment, they've been valuable learning experiences, and I wouldn't necessarily say come to accept them. Injustice does happen, but I appreciate them for what they are.
As long as we don't make a habit of having those traumatic experiences happen willingly, right?
I have a feeling they'd be far less traumatic if they were willing.
Exactly. And that's how we end up losing ourselves to whatever it is that we have dwelling deep inside.
Just out of curiosity, which camp do you fall in when it comes to philosophy of the beast? Do you believe it is an innate part of us, or do you believe it is something else entirely?
Not actually thought about it. To be completely honest, I've heard both sides. I've seen both arguments, and I just think it's something that is both part of us and not. I think it's something that is an external factor that forces us to bring out the worst part of ourselves. And depending on exactly which clan it is, it really pulls out perhaps the actual worst of us. Like, I can't stay in one location for more than a day. For a while, that was fine. It is, however, getting old. And I know the Ventru, they have the need to lord over everyone. I'm sure at some point it gets old. And Gangrel, with their displaying bestial properties, I'm sure that gets old, whether or not it's a party trick at first or not. It gets old. The accentuating mental illness of Malkavians, the need for all things secret and hidden for Nosferatu, the covetousness of the Tzimisce, it gets old after a little while. And while I don't wish it to necessarily end, because I haven't done what it is that I need to do in this life, I feel like at some point it would be, I wouldn't necessarily be telling the truth if I didn't tell you that at some point either I will purposely stay in one place to see how long we can last, or I will succumb to what it is my clan is known for. And I will push boundaries a little bit too far. It will happen one of those two ways. I have a feeling. And as far as you, I feel like you live a good long while. You seem to have quite a bit of logic on your side.
Let's just say I've experienced enough death to last me for a while. I'm not looking forward to it anytime soon.
That's fair. You live long enough and death just becomes another thing. It's unfortunate.
I must say, you are a very interesting kindred. I look forward to watching your flock grow and evolve and see how you grow with it.
We'll certainly see. Anyway, I believe the parking structure is up here.
Ah, yes. Much appreciated.
So Uriel is dropped off. Nothing crazy happens there. And Rufus, you make your way over to the house the ghouls were at. We'll get to you in a minute. Uriel, once you're dropped off, I assume you make your way back to your haven, or do you head back to the chantry?
They will head back to their haven for now. They'll check in with the chantry another night.
Okay. Is there anything you would like to do at your home? Your haven?
Pull out a journal and take as many notes about the evening as they can possibly remember.
Okay.
Questions asked, questions answered. Sketch a vague description of the fey creatures that we encountered. And write down the name that was given to them by Leon so they can attempt to do further research later on.
Okay. So that will take up the rest of your evening, detailing that out. Rufus, you pull up, and the only person in the house is the ghoul that you bonded.
Okay. So he'll sit down at the kitchen table. Kind of look at the ghoul and be like, so, I have at least bought you a week. Prove to me you're useful.
I have a lot of random skills. I don't know what you want to find useful.
What are you good at? What do you like to do when you know you're good at?
Finding things. They use me to get information. I got good at that.
So you're good at being a Nosferatu, just during the daytime.
Yeah, I guess.
That isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. And he'll take out his little switchblade knife and kind of set it on the table. Now, I need 3 things from you. First and foremost, I have a property that I need to have inspected by an engineer, architect, whatever. I need a quote brought up for repairs and then a purchase quote. And he'll take out a piece of paper and write down the address for the school.
Mm-hmm.
That's number 1. Number 2, I need at least 3 check-ins a week. Even if it's a I'm still alive, that is a check-in. Understand?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in person, however, I do prefer it to be in person at least once a week. I know you'll do it if I fully go through with this. That's not the issue. The issue is you knowing beforehand. And then lastly, the people that you were conversing with, one of them is probably dead. You understand that, right?
You mean the person you sent off the other day?
Yes.
Yeah, it kind of figured.
The other one, I don't want you to have contact with, unless if explicitly told to. Will that be a problem for you?
No.
Were you close friends? Or was it just a friendship of necessity?
More so that one.
Okay.
We weren't ghouled by the same people.
I didn't expect as much. Now, And he'll pick up the knife and he'll kind of cut his hand open. Like, take what you need. I'll tell you when to stop.
And he does. It just takes a rouse check's worth.
Yeah. Cool. 3. Fun.
At least it's not 4.
No, it's fine. Once he's done. Now, if you ever get to the point where this isn't enough, you don't want to be what you are. If you want to be more, let me know. I won't personally do it because you do not want to be one of me. It is awful. However, I can pull strings and have somebody else do it.
I'm happy to be human still.
Right. But I do understand that at some point in most schools' lives, there's a want to be more. So when that happens, I won't make you stay what you are. I'm not willing to embrace without due cause, and that's not a due cause.
Thank you.
Now, you have my number. You have the initial list of needs. So I need that done in the next 48 hours.
I'll have to find people for this. It's not something I can do personally. If that's okay.
That's fine. I just need that within the next couple days. If you cannot get it done, let me know.
If you're going to need me to do paperwork and stuff, I might need a different name and papers. I didn't really have that.
Come out to the van. I have a few on standby.
Okay. He'll follow you out.
And he'll pick just a random set of papers and be like, congratulations, you're Bill Buckney.
Okay. Guess I'll go by Buck.
It's up to you at this point. You can go by whatever it is you went by before. As long as on paper you are technically William Buckney, but yeah. Bill.
Best to get used to it. I will start contacting people in the morning.
Thank you. If you outlive your usefulness, I will be completely honest with you. There are people that want you disposed of.
I'm going to stay useful.
Yes, and I've already told them that they can do so. More so as a let's keep the peace. However, I would have to hold up my end of the bargain. So, as long as you understand that. I'd rather not see you go away permanently, but stay useful.
I'm gonna. I'll learn things if I need to.
They're also Ventrus, so the grudge is going to stay for quite a while.
Yeah, I'm gonna be really useful to you.
As long as we have that understanding. Now,
Yeah.
Do you have money to replace the window? Because I broke it. So.
Oh, yeah, I can pull from a stash.
Okay.
I don't,
You don't have the
a
money.
lot, but I have enough for things like that.
Okay. You have enough money to eat and pay basic bills?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me work on getting you a different house a little bit closer to where I'm going to be staying. Something that I'll pay for, and then you just have to keep up appearances, okay?
Okay.
Now, go take care of whatever it is you have to take care of. Keep your head down. Don't make a big splash. And we will be in contact. Like I said, 3 times a week.
Yep.
Even if it's a I'm still alive. And then once in person. Which you're probably gonna have to ask me where I'm at, so we can do that in person check-in.
Yeah. I will.
Okay. You have a good rest of your night. If you need to sleep, get some sleep.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do that. I was real nervous about what was gonna happen.
I can be intimidating,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not usually that violent unless if provoked.
I'll keep that in mind.
Have a good night, Bill.
Good night.
And Rev will hop in the front seat and take off.
Buck will go back in the house. His original name was Donald.
At least it's still a fairly generic name.
I don't know, I think Buck might be a little bit of an improvement there.
Okay, so you take off. Is there anything you would like to finish up before your day sleep?
Just the transcript for William.
Okay.
So he can hand that to him next time he sees him.
Okay. So where are you parking?
He's going to send a message to Boria and ask Kat if he can sleep in his special spot.
Around 10 minutes goes by before you receive a response from Boria. You may.
Figured I would ask, especially since last time I saw you, it was not the best circumstances.
She has calmed down a little bit.
Good. If she needs another pawn, I have one that I can get to do things.
I will let her know.
And then he will head to his special spot.
Okay. It's been a while since you've been there, so you were fine.
Yes, it has. And that is where he will sleep.
Okay. So, wrapping up the game, it's a little bit later than normal. Announcements. Visit our website, totalpartykrit.com. You can find links to all our social medias there. Everywhere where we host our podcast and our YouTube videos, there's a direct link to our stream that you can watch, so it's easier to find. You can find our Dice Legion discount link there. It will take you to their page and automatically apply the discount. Saves you money, we get a little bit from it, and it helps support their small business and our small but hopefully growing subscriber base and all of that, and lets us do a little bit more, a little bit easier. There is also a Patreon. If you are able to support us monetarily, it would be fantastic. You will receive a few different perks, several of which include our Discord, which you can find a link to on the website as well. But there's other things you get there too. So check that out if you are interested in it. You can also find our post-games talks posted there. A little bit behind on that one, but I do have almost every game's recorded at least. So they will be going up occasionally. Anything else we need to touch on?
Dice Legion affiliate links.
I already did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I could think of.
I think you got everything, actually.
Okay. So, if you enjoyed this, whether you're listening or watching, no matter where it is, please like, comment, subscribe, share. Let us know what we've done wrong constructively. Let us know what you liked about it. Give us some of your thoughts. So, thank you for joining us. Have a good evening. Don't get surrounded in a graveyard at night.
No, it's a very bad thing to do.
Goodbye, everybody.